I do this for a living, but I'm going to be honest with you, I'm at a level. I've written a little speech, and I would like to read it to you today. And it's not often that I ever make speeches that are personal to me, so bear with. But I'm going to give it a shot. Now, first of all, I'd like to thank Body Confidence Awards for having me today. This is something that has been incredibly close. Sorry, naturally, a presenter wants to be on the mic. It's something that's been incredibly close to my heart for a long time. It's something that's affected me, and I've seen it devastate some of the most amazing people that I know. A lot of them are women, but some of them are also men. And it's something that I've been publicly campaigning for the last 9 years. And so it is such an honour to stand here in front of all of you at the House of Commons. To be honest, it's a bloody miracle that I was allowed into the House of Commons, if I'm being completely frank. But it's wonderful to be here. So, last year, I was given the huge privilege of making history as the first woman ever to host the official chart on BBC Radio 1 solo. In all of its 60 years on air. And it was something that I took really seriously. I was really passionate about it. I thought I really have something to prove. I really want to show the nation that people don't just switch off as soon as they hear a woman's voice and authority. And then 3 months later, by some miracle, it came out that I had managed to gain 200,000 listeners almost on my show. Which well, thank you. But on that same day, the papers decided to ignore the fact that that had happened, and instead ran a wonderful piece about the fact that I'd gained not 200,000 listeners on my show, but instead 2 dress sizes. That was the entire focus of the pieces that I saw online and on magazines, and they were accompanied with some excellent photographs. A lot of them were of my bum, a lot of them were bending over, and there was one amazing one that was mid-air, which, as you know, is a woman's favourite shot. And I found it really upsetting, because I felt like I'd done something of some worth, and I felt like I'd just, in the slightest way, paved a bit of the path for women in media, and it was being so magnificently ignored. And I felt like I was being dragged down and slightly humiliated just because I didn't do that as a size 10, which broke my heart, quite frankly, because I realised in that moment with crystal clarity that my entire worth as a broadcaster, but more importantly as a woman, was being measured just with a weighing scale. And it was so incredibly frustrating. And not that it matters, and not that it's really anyone's business, but I gained that weight because I was sick, because I was on steroids, because I needed them to breathe. And I, granted, ate my friend's family and my car at the time. But I knew that that was going to happen, and I was told at the beginning by the doctor, choose between a size 10 and oxygen. And it was a no-brainer to me, because I'm not a supermodel. I'm a DJ, I'm a writer, I'm a broadcaster. And more importantly, I'm a woman, I'm a grown woman, and I'm a human bloody being. And I'm sorry, but I refuse. And I cannot and will not be told or pressured by anyone to believe that I owe it to anybody to be a particular shape or size. We are all supposed to be different. We are all supposed to look different. Jesus, where I'm from, if you're thin, you look poor. That's it. My friends in Africa, they're from Africa, you know, the curves over there are considered to be a sign of prosperity, and they're a sign of good health. And yet this one tiny part of the world has decided to start pressuring everyone to develop this kind of uniformed look, as if we all have to be as one, and it's so incredibly frustrating. And I feel like we're being slightly brainwashed sometimes by diet companies and by fitness companies, and those are the people who advertise in gossip magazines. And it is ironically, or not at all ironically, the fact that those gossip magazines are the ones who are ramming down our throats this ideal of sort of health and weight and beauty and everything else. And it's incredibly frustrating to me. And if we're being honest for a moment here, it's no longer just the media anymore. It's also something that we are perpetuating ourselves. It's on Instagram, it's on Facebook, it's on Twitter. It's this ideal that we're trying to create of what our amazing lives are like, and it's the way that we panic over bikini photos. And it makes me so sad online to see the way that we judge not only each other, but most of all, ourselves. And while I'm up here, can I just ask, what the hell is the thigh gap, and why does everyone keep telling me I have to have one? Seriously? Precisely, because as far as I'm concerned, that's something that men have to create room for their dangling genitals. I will admit that dangling genitals is not something that I intended to say in the House of Commons, obviously. But let's just breeze over that. Now, I think I just feel that these standards that we feel pressured to meet are insane. I cannot even tell you what most of the models that you see on the runway are put through and have to go through themselves in order to achieve that look. It would make you cry. It was so extreme from my experience, from what I saw, that it was why I had to quit my job as a model agent 9 years ago, because I felt as though I was ashamed, and I felt as though I was partaking in something that started to feel a little bit criminal almost. And I use that word dramatically, but I mean it, because what we're doing is it's savage. It's embarrassing that young women on the catwalk in this day and age are pressured to fulfill a body type that genuinely emulates people who are suffering from famine on the other side of the world. As I stand here right now, there are people who are suffering on that side of the world because they have no food, and yet there are people here voluntarily glorifying that and emulating that look. And it's such a shame. And if I may be so bold, and I'm aware that I might sort of never be lent a designer gown ever again after I say this, it feels worth it to say it right here, right now, while I have the opportunity. But if designers cannot create clothes that only look good on bones and air, then quite frankly, we need better designers. I don't feel like it's a lot to ask for people to work harder to create artwork that can fit onto a womanly curve. I think it's sad that we forget that our bodies are miracles. We forget that our minds are miracles. And we have so much to give. And it's so sad to watch how we are held back by this invisible shadow that is looming over us. And it's one that we ourselves now perpetuate every single day. So I stand here and I say to you that pardon me if I will always wobble just a little bit when I walk. Pardon me if I let my face wrinkle and if I enjoy my smile lines that are growing on my face because they show that I have laughed. And pardon me if I have enough stretch marks on my bottom to look like an A to Z of London. And finally, pardon me if I want the daughter that I may have one day to grow up wanting a good heart, a good mind, and a good life, and not a fucking thigh gap.